Clear? And national security tomorrow. Proceed, David. I don't know if I'm addressing David Ocheng or David Koros. I'm addressing my David.
So you can proceed. Karibu Bwana Koros, endelea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Of course, the leadership of the National Assembly and the entire members of the National Assembly, it's my pleasure to be up here in front before you to take you through the reforms under the National Social Security Fund, or if you may like it, to take you through the important subject of national social security, or social security as a whole. So I appreciate your invitation, Mr. Speaker, and the House for inviting me. I think this country needs to have this kind of discussion at this level in terms of social security. Social security, the world over, is what makes nations and what breaks nations. I remember a while back in the UK, there was strikes and stripes. All was about pensions. So, social security is one important subject that should be on the minds and heads, and even a priority issue for legislators like yourself. So, when we got invited and we were to discuss social security, I just thought and I said, where do we start? And if you look at our constitution, I said we'll start with our constitution. Our Kenyan Constitution 2010, actually chapter 4, article 43, 1E. Article 43, 1E talks about and recognizes social security as a human right of every Kenyan. Further down, in article 21 of the Constitution, 21.2, it mandates the state the responsibility to take legislative, policy, and other measures to achieve progressive realization of this right. So social security is enshrined in our Constitution. The state, through the National Assembly, is supposed to put in place policies and measures to ensure that social security is a right for every Kenyan and achieved by every Kenyan. Again, when David Ocheng read my profile, he talked about Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I remember reading this when we were doing policy at Strathmore University, all the way to Magna Carta declarations. So this is also declared under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Social security is one of the rights therein. Under ILO Convention, Convention number 22, it defines social security as the protection that society gives to individuals and households to ensure access to health care and to guarantee income security, particularly in old age, during times of unemployment, sickness, invalidity, work injury, maternity, or loss of a breadwinner. Social security in totality is what we do as society. You all know, even in our African way of doing things, the father provides for the family. When the father becomes old, the children take over, you take care of your parents. That is social security. in its very nascent form. Again, I just wanted to refer you under the East African Protocol, Community Protocol. There's also a discussion of social security. So it is there everywhere. Wherever you go, you find the subject of social security being front and center. So in Kenya, we have made attempts, and I will be showing you later how we fare relative to the rest of the world. In Kenya, we have, the discussion we'll have today will center around the National Social Security Fund Act of 2013, number 45 of 2013. If you look at that act, in just mentioning, there are about 7 objects, but the key ones are 4. We want to provide basic social security. We exist as NSSF to provide basic social security for all Kenyans, employed and unemployed. Improve adequacy of benefits. You all remember what we had prior to this. We had people contributing 200 shillings. It was even worse when it started in 1965. It was 40 shillings. I'll be showing you that as well. The other object was coverage. We have only 3.6 million people covered out of the possible 18 million Kenyans under Social Security. We never had, before this, we never had involvement or coverage of self-employed people. If you are self-employed, nobody bothered about you in terms of Social Security. You are a businessman, you run your shop in the village. That shopkeeper, that prominent shopkeeper in the village has no Social Security. So, the new act provides for that shopkeeper, that businesswoman, that mama mboga, whoever has a business, self-employed, you are covered in that scheme. So, what does it say, or NSSF Act say? It makes it a mandatory, it creates a mandatory universal social security scheme for, in order to fulfill the social security requirement. The act also, of course you know, we had a problem before of governance under the NSSF, the previous NSSF Act. Until 2013, we had challenges. So 2013 Act actually created some sense and in terms of governance. And of course, we have said this, it opened up membership to the informal sector. So, what we exist to do is to ensure that we improve the benefits of Kenyans. You've heard this story. Somebody saves with NSSF for 30, 35 years. And do you know how much you would come to collect in NSSF? 135,000. After saving for 35 years, before this. So, the benefits were not adequate under the old NSSF Act. 135,000 is money you will finish, if you are a member of parliament, I think that's money you finish in a day. I am being modest. You have 100 shillings, 100,000 today, you might not have it tomorrow, let alone not having it in the next 2 hours. So, what were we saying? Social Security was not adequate. But we've come from a background. I'll just mention that point because it's important. I'll come back to the rest later. So, we are coming from that background where we didn't have adequate, before this is 1965, 40-40 makes it 180. 1987, we said we need to transform the NSSF Act. We converted it into a state corporation. We didn't think of what is the benefit that we are giving people. We increased the quantums. We said from 80 shillings, from 40 shillings to 80 shillings. We found this when we went into employment. I found it myself, where we were contributing 80 shillings to NSSF. That's around up to around 2000. Then we improved it around 2000 to 200. We stayed with 200 shillings up to 2023. So exactly, the only major transformation that happened was in 2014 when Parliament, this, your people, your predecessor, I think it was the 10th Parliament or is it the 9th Parliament? 11th Parliament, enacted the NSSF Act. That's the only thing. But I'll show you later on what we ought to have done. Enacting was not enough. It has done what it has done, but that was not enough. You'll see those slides which shows the contributions, and you can see the gradual growth of contributions. And you know the war that is there. You know the hue and cry that is there. But we came from 80. We started in 2023 at 2,160. We went to 4,320. We went to 8640. And come this February, the new rates that you hear people talking about is a total contribution from both employer and employee of 12,960. Let me show you, this is only at the maximum level of 6%. Let me show you a comparative analysis of what the rest of the world is doing. I don't know whether you'll be able to see that slide. It's a bit busy, but this is the very important slide for legislators. So that as you do legislation, as you listen to your constituents, as people say we have stretched by contribution, SHA, NSSF, WAPI, you will see where the rest of the world, led by China, where we borrow. And mark you, I know we have hit the ceiling on our borrowing. Where we borrow in China, the contributions are at almost 50%. The savings rate in China is almost 50. Singapore, 37. Between 37 and 43. We always talk of Singapore. You know that talk of Singapore. We compare ourselves with Singapore. We compare ourselves with South Korea. I hope I have South Korea here. Where is? It's not there. But I will show you another slide where I have South Korea. So you can see where we are. 12%, we are making noise. We can only compare ourselves with who? And with due respect to Zambia. And I remember when I was young, when we learned driving, we used to put our the gears on free, and we say we put Zambia. So that is where we are. We can only match Zambia. Even Nigeria is ahead of us at 18%. Uganda is obviously ahead of us. You must know this, at 15%. Tanzania is catching up at 20% contribution. That is not enough. Even if we are where we are, even if we are 20, you can see, if you want to be where China is. I want the next slide to show you the fund values that we have in these other countries. Look at China, 1.46 trillion. Multiply that. Yes, in USD. Multiply that. That's almost 300 trillion shillings in China. That is their savings. South Korea, they say in 1963, maybe Mheshimiwa Speaker was around, they say we were at par with South Korea. How much do we need to save to even get to, how much do we need to save to even get to a point where we can say we have 20 billion USD, which comes to around, if you convert that into dollars, into shillings, it becomes sensible. What I'm trying to say, we say investment, or rather, even savings is the key driver to economic development. If we had the kind of money these people have, what's our budget? It's 4 trillion or 3 trillion. If we had saved consistently, and I'll show you later, like these countries, we would not be borrowing. The question of debt ceiling and debts that we have, maybe would not be an issue, would not be even a discussion today. The roads that we are doing would be done by our own savings, through NSSF or through other institutions. So the importance of savings is best illustrated by these countries who have saved. Closer home, Uganda is doing about $7 billion. We are around $5 billion. Do you know where they beat us? We enacted our act in 2013. We took it to court for 10 years. Tukipigana kotini. Uganda enacted theirs, implemented. They overtook us. Given the contribution rate that we are having now, we need to consistently contribute everything else constant for the next 3 years to be at par with Uganda. But remember, they are not also stopping. Yes. Tanzania have modified, have done their social security the other day. They are catching up with us. They are contributing at 20, higher than us. Nigeria is also under the reform process, and surely they will overtake us if we are not careful. But I want us to look at Egypt, South Africa, and I think I had a slide on Morocco and Tunisia, the northern African countries, way ahead of us. South Africa, their government employees pension fund. Look at the size. Look at the size. We cannot compete. The other day, we were investing in an organization called Africa Finance Corporation in the form of alternative investment. It's a PE, private equity fund. GPF of South Africa wrote and said they want the board seat, and they will invest $250 million to get. We also wanted the board seat, but we have only $5 million. So that is where the challenge is, and that is why, sitting where you are, it is time we ask ourselves the right questions. Do we want to apply half measures and allow generations, or rather, the legislation we put in place today will serve generations to come, or at least a generation to come, and waste another generation? We were wasted. The generation of Mheshimiwa Speaker and the others went. Our generation, I think we might not see reasonable savings in our lifetime, but we need to look at this. So I want to take you first to what, I don't want even to look at that, but look at this slide. The sorry situation in Kenya is here. We have 18 million people in the workforce. We have only 20% of that, 1 in every 5, covered by a social security. Our savings is 30% of our GDP. And adequacy of benefits, we need about 40% on average. ILO convention says at least you should have an income replacement of 40%. In Kenya, we are not having that. So, again, even our savings of the 13%, 25% are with NSSF, which, as we speak today, if you go to the next slide, we are doing about 600 and, where's that slide? Go to that slide. I want to go to that slide. There's that one. That slide, if you look at where we are today, we are doing, and I'll come back to this slide, about 670. Actually, we crossed 670 in December. We crossed 670 billion. I'll come back to that slide. But look, so this, if you go back to my, there. if you look at that slide, actually I shouldn't discuss this slide because these are the milestones that we have. We have grown the fund value. It is now 670 billion. Definitely this year, we will get to 730 towards 750 billion. We have put in an additional 1.5 million new members since 2023. We have done digital transformation. And through digital transformation and digitization, we have been able to reduce payment of benefits from 89 days. It used to take 3 months. I remember when I came to NSSF, we had 28,000 claims unpaid and had been lying there. We have administration costs. Now, we are using our administration costs. The Act 2013, it talked about us spending not more than 1.5% of the fund value. As we speak today, as at 31st December 2025, we were at 1.47. Of course, I've talked about diversification. Diversification is what will actually make NSSF. We cannot continue investing in government securities, stocks, and the traditional investment, property. In fact, we are going to, and please, we will indulge you. NSSF will no longer be investing in properties. We are exiting our property portfolio. We are developing, because of fighting over that, those double-digit return. Property gives us 4%. In fact, the returns that we are declaring, property is the main problem, giving us less than 6%. We have no business giving our members, after taking all their money, giving them 6%, 7%. So we have diversified our portfolio, and of course, you know what has happened in terms of contributions. We have really ramped up contributions, collection. We have collected over 170 billion. Imagine, NSSF used to collect for a whole year, or for a whole, the board is meeting tomorrow, and will declare the results on 6th of February. We have been able, for the first time, we declared 2024-25, we declared a return of 11%. We are going to do even better. I have the results I cannot announce, but it's upward 50% of this. So, I think I've mentioned this slide in passing, but you go back to that slide. Look at how we have been able to grow. With the rates, which I am saying and I'm submitting, those rates are not adequate. Value of 312, 30th June 2023. 2024 June, we closed at 400 billion. 670 billion I've talked about. Avia to 2025 December. We expect to close at between 700 and 750. We are being modest here. We want to close at 750 this year, June. And 2027 June, we have all agreed and we've said we will attempt to get this fund to 1 trillion shillings. This is the road to 1 trillion. We only need to raise investment income and contributions. We need 250 billion. I know we'll close this year by that June at 750, and we go to 1 trillion shillings. That is, in 4 years' time, upon implementation of the new NSSF Act, will be at 1 trillion shillings. So, there are things we need to get to that 1 trillion. We'll get to that 1 trillion. But there are things we can even do if implemented. It can even make us go beyond 1 trillion shillings. But with the little money that we have had, I think for the first time, we are feeling the impact. We are feeling NSSF in this country. One, we are doing, actually, these are, because of the interventions that were there, we are able to participate in rerunning Mau Summit. The first major road done by our savings On this road, on this road, yes, on this road, we are partnering with a Chinese company, and we are 40% shareholders in that road through equity and debt. So 40% is an investment of upwards of 50 billion shillings, investment on the road. The rest I don't want to talk about it. Let's have the road, we'll enjoy as Kenyans. Second one, this property in Kenyatta Avenue, we are doing the tallest building Eastern Central Africa, 60-story building, twin towers. Work is starting I think we have finished the process. We are waiting for an approval from City Council. Work will start, and we will have that development, and we are not going to hold it. There's an office block for sale. Whoever is looking for an office will sell. Hotel block will sell. Everything will sell. Everything here we are not going to hold. As NSSF, as we are looking for money to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. We have done, there's a plot in Kisumu where we used to get squatters coming and living there. We chased them away. We have done the development. My friend Shabir knows it. It's in Milimani. It is now off the ground. By the end of this year, we'll be done with that property for sale to Kenyans. And then I've talked about what we call introducing, making the portfolio agile. We are introducing new alternative investments. We are diversifying the NSSF portfolio that we have. If you come today, you will realize what we are doing with our portfolio. It is constant activity upon constant activity. We no longer buy government securities and sit on them. We even sell some of them which are sitting on losses. And people make noise, but we really want the best for them. We reinvest those things in better yielding instruments. So we have, for the first time, invested in about 3 private equity funds as NSSF. And of course, the objective is to grow the business and to create employment. So when this investment matures, you will see the kind of investment that we are looking at. So moving fast, I don't want to talk about our contribution to GDP. It has been worked out. We are, with this investment, only these 3 investments which we are doing, will have a contribution of 1.35% into the GDP. Of course, there are multiplier effects that are there. Social impact is there. What I want to emphasize, why are we doing this? We want to create an NSSF that will create impact, that will have impact in society. That's what we are doing. Of course, alignment with Vision 2030 and all the other things. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, now to move to, of course, I will mention, what do we think is a success? What do you think success will look like for NSSF at the end of all this? We are looking for an NSSF which will spend less than 1% in administration costs. We are looking for NSSF that will grow continuously, 1 million members year on year. We want to grow, to pay payments in 1 day, 24 hours. And we want to also make sure our customers and our employees are at a level of satisfaction that is at 95%. And then we look at the 1 trillion. In fact, after we hit the 1 trillion, we want every 2 years we are adding a trillion to the fund. We want to ramp up this growth of the fund to an extent that maybe in our lifetime the fund will be 20 trillion shillings, and I'll be showing. We have what we call, we have 3 priority outcomes, that we want. We want coverage. We want coverage. We have 3.2 million members. We have 3.2 million members. Why can't we have 18 million members? Why can't we possibly have everybody covered? We need to cover every Kenyan walking and alive. So priority outcome we want is to see what can we do. We are participating in things that focus on the youth, women, MSMEs, and that is why we have a component 3 under Nyota. We are actually the only agency that will remain forever with the youth who are being enrolled under Nyota. They are saving, you know how much they are saving? About 3,000 shillings goes to their savings out of the 25. They get 22. 3,000 comes to NSSF. And we are there to invest for them. We'll do what we call matching fund. The World Bank has given us money through the Global Fund. We'll do matching for any youth after the 6 months of Nyota who will continue saving. We'll match them 2 for 1. For every 2 shillings, we'll give them 1 shilling. We are working with the World Bank to see that we get that support. We are going to participate in other economic inclusion program. Like there is one coming called Kenya Socio-Economic Inclusion Project 2. Strategic partnerships we are doing. But more importantly, what we are doing, we are unitizing the investments. We have introduced unitization. Just like we want the NSSF, savings with NSSF, especially from the informal sector. We want to unitize them to be like a money market fund where at the end of the day, you are able to see what income you have earned for that day. We are putting in place mechanisms to unitize all the informal sector savings so that the moment they save 20 shillings, they are able to see a return at the end of the day on their 20 shillings, on and on. Next slide, please. Priority outcome number 2, service delivery. We have said we want to process claims in 1 day, 24 hours. You launch your claim today, whatever corner of this country you are in, tomorrow you have your money in your account. That's what we want, and that's the dedication we have. Of course, we are decentralizing and we are continuing digitization. We have put in place a digitization program. We have digitized 90 million records, and we are ongoing. Move on. I think there was priority outcome number 3. We want to give our members double-digit return. We are not going to give our members anything under 10. That's our commitment to our members. Double-digit return. And I want to challenge you, read the newspaper on 7th, Saturday 7th. You will see the kind of return we'll have declared as NSSF. I don't want to preempt that, but look at the newspaper. We'll publicize the return. So this will be the second year continuously where we are giving our members double-digit return. And we hope it will continue. So that is the background. That is where we are operating. That is the reforms. That's the dividends the reforms have given us in NSSF. But we have a problem. Our problem is the Act. We still have problems in the Act. It is exhaustive, but not very exhaustive. 1, we have a good Act, progressive Act, but an Act that fragments benefits. You give with the right hand and you take with the left hand. We have an Act which says for contributions to NSSF, they are split into 2 tiers. Tier 1, which is very basic, remains with NSSF for everybody. Tier 2, which is the bulk, you can opt it out to anywhere. So the bigger question is, in Kenya, we have NSSF as a basic pillar social security. We are talking about NSSF, but the reality is we have another 1,000 small schemes out there called occupational schemes. These schemes have money, but you don't see where that money goes. There is no impact, 0. We have created an act called NSSF Act, and we are empowering those other schemes. So the question is, we need to seal that loophole. Section 21 of that act provides for opt-out, and opt-out is a problem because we will never get to where South Korea is. If we are enacting a law which also allows leakage. If you have a leaking pipe, I don't think if Kenya Pipeline had a leaking pipe, fuel would get to Eldoret. So we need to look at how do we enshrine and ensure that we enclose, we protect these contributions within NSSF. The NSSF of yesteryears, people had trust issues. We are moving on, we are reforming it, and it is for the good of this country. Of course, with this fragmentation, it reduces our feasibility, it reduces our impact, it gives us a risk in terms of long-term sustainability of the fund, and of course, there's a greater risk. In the NSSF Act, there's an implied guarantee by government. So if we are allowing money to go to, for heaven's sake, an insurance company, which will fold up somewhere along the line, and you know they always fold up, some of them. I'm using insurance company. Or any other entity you have. I was telling people the other day, there's a scheme called NAMPAC. NAMPAC is a company which manufactures the Finicos or the Mikebes ya Kiwi. You remember those things? It has a scheme and it takes money. And many other small schemes. The retirement benefit sector is 2.5 trillion. You don't see that money. You don't know where it is. The other day, I called a meeting with some of them and I said, we want you to contribute to Rironi Mau Summit. None came forward. They have committed all that money. So the question is, do you want to continue with this kind of thing where we are also enacting a legislation? They are getting money. They are going to invest in their own small things in their own small way, and we end up not being able to have an impact as NSSF. So the implied government guarantee is weakened, is threatened. Of course, again, the fallacy of this is that we are required as NSSF to oversight and make sure, enforce compliance in what we call NSSF Tier 2. We are supposed to knock on your door with our compliance officers or our enforcement officers. Let's check your records. So how many entities will you go knocking on? We could cure it using the law. And then, of course, we have a challenge. And this one, I'll say it in a softer way. We have good governance framework. We have created an act which says it's a tripartite relationship between workers, employers, and government. But then we are saying, if today, let's say we are in April, or we are in March 2027, and you have a trustee who wants to go and contest, and he has 1 year or 2 years to retire of his term, or 1 year, let's say even 6 months, then he resigns. The person who will be appointed will just come and serve those remaining 6 or 3 months and go. What will that person do? Before even he lands the place, that term is expired, he has been a trustee, go home. So we have those small problems within the law. The relevant section we can still cite. Next slide. Another challenge, under say we want, if you can look at this as a National Assembly, we want one level of contributions without splitting them, which the splitting I was talking about in the 2 tiers. Because this, of course, we want to create also clarity at retirement. You are retired, you are coming to NSF to collect a portion of the check, you go to CG XYZ to collect another portion, you go to another place to collect another pension. Classic example is myself. When I retire, I'll have to go to 3 entities to get my pension. So that is one of the things which we want reform. We want also to include people to save. You know the idea of the SACCOs. We want what we call goal savings. We want people to save for their goals and get their money to go and do that goal within NSSF. We also want home ownership. NSF is known for developing houses. And we are going to change our orientation to develop houses for sale. We are asking our members to save with us as NSSF. When you save with us, we'll build houses, we give you the house. You will have saved under our home ownership program. This has been approved, it's already being rolled out by the board. We want people to save for investment. If you go to Singapore, your savings is in one basket. You save for retirement, you save for investment, you save for medical, you save for education for your children, under one roof. And when that event happens, that goal is achieved, happens, you get your check on that. We want to invest. Let's allow contributions at 6% continuously into the future. So, why 6%? If you save at 6%, simulations have been done continuously for 30 years at an average salary of 50 shillings. By the way, the average salary in Kenya is 50,000. If you save 6% of that, if a young person going into employment today saves continuously 6% of his salary for 30 years, I realized the other day, I have clocked 30 years since I started working. At NSSF, if I had saved continually that 6% continuously, I would retire with a kitty of 17 million shillings. 17 million. This is, if you save for 30 years, which I have done. I've done my 30 years of service. If it is 100, there are 400,000 of us Kenyans earning above 100,000. I'm saying of us Kenyans. I believe everybody here earns above 100,000. You will take home 35 million shillings under NSSF. We are 3 million of us. Take a calculator. Maybe majority, you take a calculator. 3 million of us at 50,000, everybody is retiring at 17,000. Assuming those of us with a payroll, 3 million of us, 17 million from all of us, and we are 3 million. If all of us will have a balance in our savings at 17 million, what will that be? How many trillion? 45 trillion, maybe around 50 trillion Kenya shillings. That is what we want our children to have, 50 trillion. With 50 trillion, muniambie, what can we not do as Kenya? That's the thinking we need to look at. In 30 years, the people who will be around will be proud of us. If we save at 6%, I'm told I have 3 minutes, so I don't know whether I need to make any other presentation beyond that. I think my message is home. My message is home. We need to stick to the 6% going into the future. Millicent, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce my team. Millicent Awiti is my general manager, strategy, research, and risk. Kellen Njue. Kellen Njue is our Wanaombui. Evans Ombui is our general manager, social security. He's the one running around. We didn't have these people. They have only served us for they're going into their 3rd year. Is it 3 years now? They are 3 years now. We employed them the other day. I was ahead of them. So this is the team. Millicent. 50%. 50-50. Do you think there's anything out of regulations? It is us and the Committee of Parliament. Yeah, we publish, we have, and then it comes to you. So all these regulations are not in place. This is what we need. These are the next steps. I'll not mention them, but the most confusing one, we need urgent regulations to manage opt-outs. How do you? Somebody wakes up and says, I'm opting out tomorrow. Wamekutana hoteli, wamediscuss, wameagree. The next day, a letter lands in NSSF, we have opted out. Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about that. That's what we need these are the regulations we need. Anything else? You know, it is a joint effort. No need. And I've mentioned this. I've mentioned that. That's why I'm not mentioning that. I think that's it. Where?
Will you present these proposals so that we discuss them formally?
Yes.
Yes, go through them.
Let me present this one. No, the
You've
other
done
one.
that one. The next slide.
The other one.
The next slide.
Let me present the other one.
The next slide.
Millicent. Yes, that
Yeah,
one.
that slide.
Term of the board. I want to prosecute this one and hear me out, Majority Leader. For the first time, NSSF is a quiet institution. For the first time in the history of NSSF, where the board and the management is working together. Where the board, irrespective of whether you represent KOTU or FKE or whatever, people are working together. 3 years I have served. I'm winding my 3 years in NSSF. I have not done much. You cannot do much as a policy driver. In 3 years' time, you are trying to implement, you think fast, 1 year goes, implement 1 or 2 years before even full implementation, nothing working. At NSSF, what we said with the board, we believe in a mantra, tangible, feasible, completed. We don't want white elephants. You start today on a project like Rironi Mau Summit. This one will take 1 year, will be done. You do a building. 3 years lapses, new board of trustees comes with a new thinking, rubbish that thing, and you know it happens. You know what happens also. We live in Kenya sometimes. So we are saying, why can't we have a 5-year term for trustees? So allow us to have, let's increase the term to 3 years. Yeah.
We'll allow him to finish, then we'll make our contributions.
Anyway,
To wind up on this slide.
okay.
Members will have the time to make their comments on this.
I think the second one, the issue of if you go to politics today, whoever comes will have to complete your term. Really, it doesn't make, yes, it doesn't have a new term. It doesn't have a new term. You serve the term of the person who was, you serve the balance. Again, that's a shortfall in the act. I've prosecuted my case on this one, but I won't hand myself if it's not allowed. I have served, and I think I've made an impact. So, okay, I think I will stop there. Thanks, David, my namesake, for this indulgence. I think I will be ready for now the next course of the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you
We
so
have your-
much. You all agree that he was a very welcome guest this evening. His intervention has been really illuminating. May we give him a proper round of applause. Thank you so much, David. And sit down to now get questions. We will give him a number of questions based on what we've heard from him and what we've, yeah. But before we call for any interventions, I would like to call my friend, the Honorable Alice Nganga, who will be what you call a discussant on what has been presented and any other thing that the committee may be looking at in this area. Karibu, Madam Alice.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, the Managing Trustee, CEO, Mr. Koros. I'll be very quick. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, from the initial flat rate of 200 shillings per month from every employee, which was equally matched by the employer, the Neuro established levels of tires in contribution to 6% of pensionable earning for both employees and employer. Due to this overall success of the reforms, the fund has greater liquidity than ever and has fewer delays in processing pension payment. Nevertheless, I want to call upon the managing trustee to verify from the ground whether indeed the pensioners' benefits are processed within an average of 9 working days, as stated in the presentation. Also, I want to call upon the managing trustee to elaborate on the extent of decentralization of NSSF services across the country. In light of this increased liquidity, I call upon the NSSF management to ensure that its procedures, decisions, and investments are done in full compliance with the law. In addition, on account of the same increased liquidity, I wish to call upon the NSSF management to make prudent decisions when it comes to consideration of investment choices, particularly those involving fixed assets such as land, road, and buildings, like the work you're undertaking right now, to make sure that due diligence is done. In the beginning this year, the third phase of implementing the NSSF Act 2013 will commence. This will involve enhanced contributions by employees and employers. We do understand that the NSSF management is simply implementing the NSSF Act as required by the law. I call upon them to clearly communicate the anticipated changes to both employers and employees, because if you don't do that, it will come back to us as the members of parliament. Clear and open communication will further ensure that the incoming changes are not blamed on the current NSSF administration. Further, I call upon the managing trustee to explain how having one level of contributions instead of splitting into tiers will affect the general performance of the fund. In addition, I call upon the managing trustee to state the likely timeline within which the fund will draft the proposed legal intervention, including regulation, which he says are necessary for the fund optimum performance. Finally, and this is very important for honorable members who are seated here, the managing trustee, Honorable Speaker, I'm aware that some constituency offices have in the past had arrears with NSSF. Most of these offices are generally compliant, but a few have some arrears arising from historical issues in the past. Constituency and county offices have had a historical NSSF liability of 127 million shillings dating back to 9th Parliament, whose term in office is over 23 years ago, comprising of principal arrears of 24.8 million shillings and accumulated penalties and interest amounting to 102 million Kenya shillings. Through the intervention of the Honorable Speaker, MD, the clerk of the National Assembly facilitated payment of the principal amount of 24.8 million Kenya shillings in June last year, with the hope that NSSF will in turn grant us amnesty on interest and penalties pertaining to the said historical injustices. Following the Honorable Speaker's intervention, 97 of the constituencies' offices were compliant with the NSSF as of December 2025. And therefore, we wish to call upon the NSSF managing trustee to fast track the granting of the penalties amnesty to ensure that the affected offices retain their compliance status as reflection of the goodwill exhibited by parliamentary leadership. That one we are requesting, and before you leave us here today, you let us know, because we represent these great people and they know their chair spoke on their behalf. Thank you.
Here in Naivasha, after the elections, the president took us through what he thought he could achieve. And I think, Mr. Koros, what you've given us for us looks very good. But I always have a feeling that you've left the job of explaining this thing to the president only. He's the only one who talks about this everywhere he goes. Good things are happening, the public doesn't know. So you need to probably get a person or a department at your place to communicate this, following what Honorable Ngang has just said, that there are changes happening this year. The media report them as if there's a new law, yet this law was passed a long time ago, and then they start looking for guys to blame. Where's Parliament or somebody else? This law has been there for a while. So I wish you could ramp up communication on what's going on and what people should expect. Honorable members, this is your chance now to ask questions and comments. I'll start with the Honorable Martha, the Honorable Shabir, the Honorable Mutunga, then I would come to the Honorable Mariam Peters. I hope you're noting. The Honorable Wangwe, then the Honorable Owundo. Then I'll take the second round. Let's start from there. Those are 6.
Thank you. Thank you to the MD on your presentation. Mine is very quick. Number one, the issue of 1 trillion and the contribution looks very good. But the one thing NSSF has suffered is the trust deficit of managing the resources that come from the Kenyan people. You have been in the media for all the wrong reasons. Collapse, danger of losing, pensioners losing their money, and I still don't know how you will address that trust deficit to ensure that you actually cement for the Kenyans to know, because they have no issues contributing. But in terms of where does their money go, is it stolen? All the prosecutions we have seen for NSSF, how many have gone to conviction? Because people are roaming with the money that has been contributed by pensioners out here, and yet they are still with you. Secondly, the issue of, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the government of the day, led by the President, on the issue of Mau Summit. Mr. Speaker, this road for us is not just a road. It is a matter of life and death. Between Gilgil and Nakuru, I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, we are tired of collecting bodies. Families have been wiped out. Just yesterday, I was burying a head teacher from the Kikope accident recently. We buried 5 people who are from my constituency. So it is a matter of life and death. And my question then, however good this is... And
in November,
yeah,
a family from Lugari constituency of 12 was wiped out. Same place.
Mr. Speaker, we lost others in Kandara, 16 people. One teacher lost her 2 children and the husband from my school, and we buried them in Kiambu. One mother in the US, we buried 3 children, Mr. Speaker. So it is a matter of life and death, and we cannot wait for that road to be done. But maybe to the MD, the question we'll ask, when you put a stake for NSSF money in this infrastructure, does that affect or expose the investments that have been put by pensioners to issues of unresolved claims, the issue of oversight and the safety of their contributions? How then can you give confidence to the people who contribute to this ambitious program in terms of ensuring that their money is safe? And finally, Mr. Speaker, there is a role that NSSF plays in terms of supporting the National Industrial Training Authority, NITA. The issue of employment attaché in the spirit of whole government approach. When you talk of attachés in the Middle East, are you still going to do that? Or do you now shift totally to infrastructure and forget the role that NSSF was to do? Maybe you can touch on that.
And members, the Speaker had communicated 1 comment or question per person. So I expect compliance going forward. The Honorable Shakil.
Thank you very much. I've known my brother Koras even when I was the mayor of Kisumu. He's done a great job where he was, but we have certain questions. Yes, we have a trust deficit, we have said. When you look at the actuarial going concern calculation, actuarial, you do not make it. You are not a going concern on the actuarial basis. If everybody who's deposited with you should want to know where the money is. You have lost a lot of money. The very high administrative costs that you have, idle properties. The auditor in the last account said 16 billion of your investments were underperforming. There is the issue of the present value of money. You gave us a very nice thing there, and you said 35 million, but the present value of that money is not much. Finally, Mr. Chair, I went to go and check how much NSSF I have. It's 145,000 for the last 30 years. So I was wondering, can I go and withdraw it? So, oh, you have to fill this, you have to fill that. Now that's me as a member of parliament. What about Wananchi?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mutunga. Please keep it short and crisp.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and the presenter. First of all, you show us the comparisons of different countries in terms of what they have contributed to NSSF. And maybe if you could probably give us a comment on their obligations, because we need to compare favorably. And maybe their salary levels in terms of hours, so that probably if you are giving 50% of your pay, then there must be safety nets. Then do the pensioners also pay NSSF? And if they do, how easy is it to withdraw this NSSF? Let me link this one up with a comment, Honorable Chair. We are having a lot of debts today. I do not know whether it is only happening in Tigania West or in Meru or in Eastern Province, but we have too many debts. I don't know whether this one has aroused any consciousness to try and look at exactly what is killing people. It's not just cancer. People are dying in very many numbers today as compared to before.
Thank you.
In terms of safety net,
Thank
how
you.
do people, when such families are affected, how fast can they get this NSSF as a safety net?
Thank you. Honorable Martin Peters.
Thank you so much. Mr. MD, your vision of NSF is very good. But the journey of a contributor towards pension sometimes is very painful because of quality of life as they contribute. And when they reach pensioning, the problem they have, most of all, is health. Now, you and your board, are you thinking in any way that you can intervene either by paying a section from their proceeds towards insurance when they retire?
Thank you. The Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question mirrors the question of Honorable Mother Wangari, but I want to put it in this perspective, that the managing trustee has assured us of the good investment in the Ronnie Mau Summit Road, but the air out there has been so political. So it's good you set the record straight and tell this House what is the effect of this investment on your NSSF portfolio. And part B of it is how long will it take you to recoup the investment? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Professor Wundo.
Thank you, Speaker. The managing trustee has given us a list of countries where they have made a comparison. And I just want to pick up where Dr. Mutunga has left off. Probably could have been easier and better for us to understand if we'd given up some comparable data, like GDP of those countries, plus the per capita income, at the power purchasing parity at the time of measurement. And probably also, I just want to have your comfort that there has been a thorough and adequate investment appraisal of the investment of NSSF in the Ronnie Mau Summit Road, because the publicity that we have received is so negative, everybody is apprehensive for their investments services are going to be lost, and that might even lead to shrinking of NSSF if we do not foster positive attitude about this project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll have another round of 6 before I call him in. So I'll start with Honorable Njoki, then we'll go to Honorable Maungu, then we'll go to Honorable Miriam Masse. You know, everyone is going to have a chance to ask, actually. The Honorable Kombe, the Honorable Sunkuli, the Honorable Basil, and then the Honorable KJ last on this matter. I hope you noted your numbers. Go ahead, Honorable Njoki.
Thank you. And thank you to the managing trustee for a good presentation, and especially seeing that the journey to Singapore is going to be real through your numbers. But I have one question. I know we have all these contributions, but there's allegations out there that some money was lost through trading of bonds. Is it true or false?
Very straightforward. The Honorable Maungu.
Yeah, thank you very much. The presentation was very clear. But maybe one presenter, one thing I wish to find out is that with regard to investment of NSF in the Great Mau Summit Ronnie project, one thing that has been there is that for many years, NSF, we've had issues to do with negative publicity, either because of governance challenges that have existed in the past and some other challenges which may have existed with NSF. But thanks to you and your team, you've done quite some commendable job. But the question is, NSF has chosen to invest in this great project. But out here, we get so many questions as to the safety of our pensioners and the safety of their money in terms of the liquidity. Are we not likely to find yourselves in liquidity challenges given that you've committed to support this project and the payback period that you expect to recoup what you'll have actually put in?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Emase.
Thank you. My concern is, what interventions are you going to employ to onboard more membership, especially those in the informal sector, so that you can grow the fund and increase the membership? And on the same, you've talked of digitizing your systems. How soon will that be? Because it will be easier for one to just access, register from the comfort of their offices, be able to see your savings, how your savings are grow, instead of going to queue at the NSSF to be registered. You want to know, like now if I wanted to know how much I've saved since I started the saving, I should be able at a click of my phone to access your system. And then that way I'll be motivated even more to save more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Honorable Kombe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is, we have quite a number of people who are laid off, and they are now at 45 years, and they have no plans of being employed anymore. Is there any possibility of these people getting their money? Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Sunkuli.
Mr. Speaker, I was concerned about well, I must first say that the innovation in terms of investment is good. But when it comes to things that look like they are not quite visible into the future, I don't know whether it is very wise to say that you want to run away from property. Well, maybe development of property is expensive. I've been a tenant of NSSF for as long as I remember, at Bruce House, at Hazina Towers, in my law firm. And one of the things I can tell the managing trustee is that those properties are really poorly run, and that people want to go to other newer buildings. Why don't you, as part of your innovation, think about how to actually improve those buildings that are in prime places in the city center so that they can be able to continue giving you a good return? Maybe developing new ones might not be the best thing.
Correct. Thank you. The Honorable Basil.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the presenter. If I heard you very clearly, you did say that out of 18 million workforce, 20% are covered by NSSF. My question is, according to the Act of Parliament 2013, it is mandatory to have all workforce under NSSF. So why are the 80% not covered by NSSF? Then there are rogue employers who actually deduct money from employees, but they don't remit the same amount to NSSF. So what are you doing to ensure you tame this particular vice?
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable KJ.
Mr. Speaker, the presentation that has been made to Parliament today is coming as a great surprise to even members of Parliament who in fact have great interest in this fund. The question is is the fund thinking about the whole area of strategic communication, which actually should be structured as part of what the board commitment is, because it does not matter how much you do without communication to the public. What it ends up being is that every time you get the opportunity, you're firefighting. So how is the board thinking about building this strategic communication into their bigger plan, so that as they're thinking about investments and they're thinking about the fiduciary issues, communication becomes one of the key pillars on which this fund is built on. Lack of that will be firefighting and responses to situations long after it has happened. Where is the place for strategic public communications in your strategy? Thank you very much.
Now I'll give this chance to member for Butula, then I'll call upon member for Uasin Gishu and majority leader to give us their comment they wanted to make during that time on the last slide. Member for Butula, then member for Uasin Gishu, then majority leader.
Well, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask raise an issue concerning the past investments of NSSF. In the past years, NSSF invested badly in land and buildings. And the NSSF lost a lot of money during those years. I don't know whether the recoveries have been done and whether the accounts of NSSF are now up to date. I see the NSSF wants to go back into those investments. I hope that if you are going to do that, you will let this House know that those investments will not create any problem to the fund contributors.
Thank you. Majority leader.
Managing trustee, you should note that the person who has just asked you that question, the Honorable Yula, is a former senior official in the Ministry of Finance in the National Treasury. Correct. So he knows what he's asking. Yes, Paymaster General. Mine, Managing Trustee, is just on your last presentation on proposed legislative amendments. Those amendments, where do they sit in view of the policy on Mwongozo, on 3-year contracts or 3-year terms, both for chief executive officer? Any effective leader should be able to nurture new leadership, should be able to nurture new leadership within the organizations that they are leading. Any board of trustees within a period of 6 years should have been able to establish systems and mechanisms that will ensure that organization does not go backwards. And the same for a managing trustee. You must nurture leadership within the organization to make sure that you have people behind you who can take over from where you will stop after your 6-year term, should it be renewed, since I heard that is about to come to an end. I don't know when. Thank you.
I want us to end it at that and ask Mr. Koros. And I hope you wrote the questions down. And I also wrote them down, all of them. So please ensure you answer all of them. So that we don't waste time. Karibu, you can come back to the podium. And as you come back, it's a question about how the NSSF, to what extent do you currently comply with the RBA Act, if at all?
I hope I will be able to answer all the questions. I've written all of them. Of course, my friend here, if I will have left any, you will remind me. I'll start with your question. NSSF is fully compliant with the provisions of the Retirement Benefits Act 1997 and subsequent amendments. So that is a straight answer I would give you. By the way, I used to work with RBA, so I'm actually one of the pioneer staff in RBA, and I know what that compliance means. In every piece of that. I wrote the first questions from my chair. I don't know. I will respond in the way they came, the way the questions came. There are some, like for Daktari, I don't think I got it clearly, so I'll beg your indulgence to respond to them. TAT, turnaround time, 9 days, average, confirmed. I can tell you, we have even paid benefits in 1 day. We've tried that 1 day. Several people, one of them a prominent Kenyan, our immediate past chief of staff and head of public service, we paid him in 1 day. We processed. And many others we have tried. Before we committed ourselves to what we call TAT, turnaround time for 24 hours, we have tried without buying even a single computer, even a single machine, with the processes as manual as they are. We paid several people. I've just mentioned one. Of course, I didn't mention a name, but we paid several. I can name about 10 of them. We just woke up and say, today we want these claims here. I went 1 day to the benefits department. We picked 20 claims, and we processed. And I went to my office and I said, I want the report in the evening. By evening, all of them has been paid. All of them, 17. I think 17 had been paid. 3 had problems. So reality is we can pay in 1 day, leave alone the 9 days that we are doing now. We used to pay in 3 months. People used to wait for 3 months to get their claims. Now we are paying 10 days. Yes. So we are paying. That one is confirmed. In terms of decentralization of our services, we are virtually in every county in Kenya. We are virtually in every Huduma center in Kenya. We have 64 branches in Kenya. There are 47 counties, 64 branches. We are present in 57 Huduma centers. And we are training and deploying more staff to those Huduma centers. So, decentralization story is a story we are pursuing very aggressively. Once we digitize and we roll out the current reforms that we are working, we don't want Kenyans to walk to Nairobi. We want Kenyans to walk to their Huduma center, file their claim digitally. We have all the digital records of whoever is claiming, and we are able to process claims automatically using the system and pay these people. We'll only have a few checks. So, in terms of decentralization, I think we are leading the pack. Thirdly, investments are done. The way that our investments are done, as I have mentioned, our investments are done under the provisions of the Retirement Benefits Act, and governed under the Retirement Benefits Act, where there is a requirement that a scheme like NSSF...
Just a minute. Sergeant at Arms, please help us with the noise around the door. The Sergeant at Arms, please. There's a lot of,
Yes. So, our investments are done under the law, under the provisions of the Retirement Benefits Act, which provides that scheme like NSSF does investment through a registered fund manager who is registered by RBA. And we have our investment decision making and present to the board for consideration. Actually coming up with in our strategic plan, it is there. We had challenges in communication. We had challenges in communication. I admit that. I admit that. And it is one of the things we needed to work. But systematically, we had more pressing issues to work on even before coming to communicate. One, if you remember, our act was adjudged unconstitutional by the court, High Court of Kenya. We had to go all through. We went to the Court of Appeal, and we are actually operationalizing this act with the approval and the guidance of the Court of Appeal. But this act also went to the Supreme Court. The matter never died there. It went to the Supreme Court. We came back, the Supreme Court remitted that matter back to the Court of Appeal to hear on the substantive issues that are raised. So it's a live issue in court. So our strategy was, should we then execute a communication, we'll be cited for contempt. And we have an issue in court, which we are handling. We believe in fullness of time, when we finish that court matter, we'll be able now to communicate. So communication, I agree, has been a challenge, but nonetheless, the pronouncement of the Court of Appeal, which is there and nobody has appealed, the Court of Appeal said, implement the act. Various interpretations are there, including the extreme interpretation that since the Supreme Court said the lower court had jurisdiction, NSSF Act as it is today is unconstitutional. We have our own views on that, and so we are torn in between in that implementation. There was a question on the tiers or the options. You wanted an explanation. Section 4 of the Act, is it Section 4, Kellen? Section 1, which keeps the contributions into 2 tiers. Section 21 is opt-out. Should be Section 20. Section 20 clearly says contributions to NSSF will be in 2 tiers. Tier 1 contribution, which is a basic of the law, which is a percentage, 6% of the law earning limits, which started at 6,000. And then it says tier 2 is 6% of the higher earning limit less low earning limit. When we started, it was 18 minus 6, which was 12,000. So we are doing 6% of 12,000 and 6% of 6,000. Tier 1 was only coming to around 420 shillings. Am I right, Ombui? I hope we are on the same page. 360, sorry. And tier 2, 6% of 12,000. Calculate. You know what it is. You have forgotten. It was 10 something, 1080 or something. No, 7. We are in, and these contributions were actually graduated. Year 1 was based on that, what I've just explained. Year 2, the minimum wage went to 18,000. Am I right, Ombui? And year 3, minimum wage went to low earning limit, sorry. Low earning limit went to what? 88. The low earning limit went from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9. We are now going to 9,000 this year. Highest earning limit went from 18 to 36 to 72. We are going this year to 108, and maybe next year to 144. That is there in the Act. So these tiers are what we are having a problem with. The bulk of that contributions is in tier 2. And this tier 2 is money that can be taken anywhere. You can decide today and agree with some insurance somewhere in the corner, and you say, I am the human resource manager of company X. And from today we are contributing tier 2. NSSF tier 2. It's called NSSF tier 2 contributions. I'll take this money to insurance company Y, Z. Yes, to manage it for us. Supposing that company closes with that money, or when you retire, maybe the money will have been moved 3 times over. It will have moved from insurance. I'm using insurance, and I have nothing against insurance company. It has moved from insurance company A, B, C, D. It will create a lot of untidiness in terms of collecting these contributions. How will the member collect? So, but I think I have explained the tiers. You had asked me for that. Question number 5, that was explain the tiers and the options that are there, opting out. You were saying the proposed legal intervention, Madam Alice, Honorable Alice, I didn't get it nicely. Maybe you can take me back to it, but let me take number 7. Very dear to all of you. I've heard you. The question she asked was about what's happening, what we call constituency staff, and the principal arrears, NSSF contribution, and the penalties that have been applied. To an extent that now we have a total of 104 million against a principal of 24 million, 24.8 million. I'm aware of this. I think my attention has been drawn to it. Some constituencies have written. I don't know whether the clerk also wrote a letter. All correspondence come through my office, and I think I read something like that. My response to this, of course, principle, no question about it. Spare no effort, look for that money, pay. Make application. Every constituency is an employer by its own right. Let me have the application. The law says the minister is supposed to waive. Or rather, it's only when we recommend to the minister to waive. I've heard you. Make an application to us. Every constituency or those constituencies concerned. 97 are compliant. Maybe another 100, is it 203 may not be compliant, may be having that challenge. And we'll consider it on merit. We'll consider it on merit. I believe one constituency has written, I'll not mention that constituency. We have handled it in a way, and we sorted it out. I'll not tell you what we did, but it is sorted. So follow suit, write to us, we'll handle it. And now, on communication and the strategy, I agree, guilty as charged. We are developing that strategy. It was also a question by KJ. I will address that one. That communication she also raised, I agree, and we are working out a communication strategy, and we were going to roll out this communication. We only need legal advice as per that laguna there in law. When we roll out communication, this morning, when I was coming here, COFEC has written to me. COFEC, you know COFEC? Federation of Consumers, Kenya Consumer Federation. Asking about a few issues, and you know why they're asking those issues, just to stir up emotions. I'll respond to them, but more importantly, our communication needs to go out there, we are developing. Mother, of course, we have come a long way with Mother. She was in the Senate, and she took us where we was. So, I agree with that observation. NSSF suffers and has suffered a great deal of trust deficit. We are trying to walk back, to roll back, and regain that trust deficit with Kenyans, or among Kenyans, with NSSF. What we are doing, one, for the first time, and that trust deficit is coming back, we are winning. I would say we are really now cruising at around 60%. For the last 3 years, no staff from NSSF has been prosecuted for corruption. Not a single letter from EACC. Not a single officer from EACC has walked into NSSF. Secondly, we have gotten for the last 2 audits unqualified audit opinions from the Auditor General.
The member for Lego. I can't conceivably see anything out of order in what Mr. Koros just said. Unless you want to. The Honorable Jack Wamboka, you want to come and sit here? Okay. The Honorable Atandi, what is the out of order? Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Koros is a good friend of mine. In fact, in our previous lives, we worked closely. I didn't intend to disrupt his submissions, but I'm just concerned about the statement he has made, that no EACC officers walk into NSSF. Is it because they have not been invited or they have been blocked from walking in? Are there powers that are preventing them from walking in just to check? Because EACC officers are allowed to work in any government institution. They cannot be bad. Looks like you have barred them. Have you barred them? Thank you.
Thank you. I was avoiding that because maybe it's about choice of words, but Mr. Koros, you are here. Please.
No, I think it is a question of semantics. But I mean, nobody has stopped them from doing their work. But as far as the last 3 years, which I want to speak to, we may have historical issues we are dealing with. But in terms of the current issues, we have not gotten any engagement with that entity I've mentioned, and any other entity we have not called. We are being called to say DCI to record things that happened 1992. That is what we are dealing with. We are dealing with legacy issues, but we are not creating those new issues. I think that is, apologies for the language. We are not barring anyone, and yes, I want to acknowledge in our previous lives, we worked with Atandi. Yeah. So, Mother, I'm saying we are addressing this trust deficit very seriously, and we hope in the fullness of time, Kenyans will have the heart to trust NSSF again. The pain point for NSSF has been the legacy issues. You remember the quarry stories, and that's why properties are very sensitive issues, which I don't want to mention here. So we are rewinding that clock, that trust deficit, and we are winning. We are almost 60%. We are able to provide statements. I'll get to that issue of the statement. On the road, Mother again, yes, we decided to do the road after proper appraisal on the viability of that road investment. Incomes, there will be constant stream. The road will be tolled. There will be a toll road. And there's evidence. We are learning from expressway. You are all users in one way or another of the expressway. We've done traffic studies on that road, the numbers, the possible income, and the returns. And by the way, we are working in dollar terms, not even in shillings. And the return on that road is in the region of 11% in dollars. So we have done the proper appraisal. We have involved all the necessary professionals. And we have a verdict that is a viable investment. And in addition, impact. You agree. That is an artery which needs to be opened up. And we believe the support we may have had all these negative stories, but from the public participation that was done, every public participation forum that was held, we attended, and Kenyans were in support. of that road. So the returns are good. In terms of returns for us, it ticks the box. In terms of viability, it ticks the box. Security, because important is security of the funds, tick the box. The road will be operated for at least 28 years. It's a 30-year concession, 28 years of operation, where NSSF and the partner will collect the toll. And the toll have been even indexed in case it doesn't meet there. So we have those, we have ticked the boxes in terms of viability of that investment. NITA, we're still working together. We have not stopped. Despite investing in the road and all these new investment, we are still working together with NITA, supporting them. We are agencies together and
Koros,
labor and skills development.
you have to move faster. We don't have the
I'm
luxury
moving very
of
fast
time.
now.
Yes.
With your guidance, I'll move very fast.
Yes.
My friend is left the room. Actuarial.
The questions belong to the floor, so just answer them.
Going concern basis. My answer is very straightforward. Last week, we had an actuarial valuation report presented to NSSF. Even after declaring the returns that we have declared today, we are 100% funded. Under the Retirement Benefits Act, a scheme like ourselves are allowed minimum funding levels of 98%. We are 100% as we speak. That was last week's report, which we have, and we'll be sharing during the AGM. After declaring these returns, we are 100% funded. Underperforming investments, 16 billion. Legacy issues again. We have investments in entities like Consolidated Bank. I don't know what it is. NSSF is a shareholder of Consolidated Bank. No returns. You cannot exit that share. Very many of them, we are exiting some of them, and we are cleaning that book. So non-performing assets, quoted and unquoted, properties and all the other things, we are cleaning. We are not afraid to exit even at a loss, because we want to clean that portfolio. Mutunga, obligations of schemes in these other countries, schemes the world over are the same. Schemes the world over are the same. I'm not ignoring you, Mheshimiwa, but I don't. Okay. Schemes the world over are the same. They have the same obligations. Social Security provide social security for its members. In terms of GDP, of course, you will agree. Once you have made the kind of savings they have made, their GDP is up, their per capita income will always be up. So believe I didn't get the second question, Mutunga. Maybe we'll pick it up with the assistance of David Ocheng.
Mr. Koros is answering a slew of 12 questions. So once he's done, in case there's something burning, we'll give you a chance.
Martin Owino, insurance when they retire, we are considering it, but we have gone beyond even insurance. We must do studies. These are people's money. These are individual savings. So we must see what we can do. And that's why we propose. In the proposal, I think I didn't mention it. We want to introduce even a funeral grant, which is a very basic minimum one-off payment for a funeral grant for a member. We are working on that. Chairman Wangwe, effect of Rironi Mau Summit on the portfolio, I've said Rironi Mau Summit is like any other investment. It ticks the boxes. Long-term revenue streams that will come will cushion the portfolio, and it will give us, in shilling terms, more than double-digit return, which we have committed. Bottom line is 10%, it ticks the boxes. I think I've answered the issue of GDP per capita from Oundo. I answered when I was answering Mutunga's question. Thorough investment appraisal of the Rironi Mau Summit, I've answered. Njoki, our neighbor from Bahati. The issue of trading in bonds and money, whether money was lost. What happened in that bond trading, we actually made a deliberate decision at some point to exit the bonds that we are holding, which were underwater. and reinvest. We had bonds yielding 7%, and the yields that were there in the market, we could get an IFB, infrastructure bond, at 18%. So crystallize the losses, go and reinvest at higher return. Some, of course, we have those losses. Trading and good behavior by people who are handling those the investments, it's being handled by CMA. But for our case, we didn't lose any money. We didn't lose any money because the money that we lost, we recovered in the reinvestment. And that is a concept of investment. You don't sit on a loss and wait for a security to mature. You are waiting for a security to is sitting on a loss. You are waiting at it to mature in 20 years. Crystallize the loss, recognize that loss, move on, reinvest. That is the art of investment. So we didn't lose money, and we've made even more money than what was imagined to have been lost. Emase, Maundu first. Safety of our money and ability to pay back. Yes.
I would like you to combine your answer so that you're able to cover 2, 3 together. Don't refer to every member's question the way they were asked. Combine them together and move a bit faster.
Safety of funds, we have, I can guarantee you, all the money we have in NSSF is safe. We are paying people as they come. We're paying all liabilities as they fall due. Membership growth and membership investment, I like that question from Emase. Allow me to mention her name. And I was laughing when she was asking that question, and I appreciate it. The other day, my security took me through how you check your balances. We have what we call, you have a code, *303#. You'll be able to check your balances. You'll be even able to make contribution. And it's a guide. It takes you through. I wish I had time. I really wanted to demonstrate how it works. You don't have to move. You can make contributions. Actually, we were driving and we were making contributions. I was adding my contributions, checking my balances on the contributions, and it works. So that one, membership can contribute from wherever they are with their phone, and it doesn't have to be a smartphone. On properties, we are not saying we have a strategy to exit those properties in a different way. We are considering introducing real estate investment trust, which will also list all those properties, NSF Towers, or rather Social Security House, Bruce House, Asina Trade Center, Asina Towers, Few Park Towers, and many other Social Security Houses in Mombasa, so that we manage them in a different manner. I agree, the properties are in a sorry state, but we have budgeted to rehabilitate them, renovate them. We've started with Social Security House, and we are also following suit with the other properties. I think the issue of the 80% who are not covered by NSSF, we have only 3 million people having a payroll out of the 18 million possible. So the 80% are out there, either in the informal sector or even not employed. They are self-employed. They are into Akali, Mama Mbogas, and the rest are not covered under this Social Security. We want to bring them on board. I think KJ, communication, I've addressed it. Oyula, investments, the legacy issues that we have talked about in the 90s when you were the Paymaster General, and all the other things, you know what happened. Legacy issues, we are addressing them, including controversial Tasha estate, which was scrapped. People don't have titles. All the entire Tasha estate is NSF property. Legacy issue, when NSF lost money, we regularized. We still have challenges up to now, but we are working very hard to make sure that we address all the legacy issues. Amendments, I want to end with what the majority leader has said. Of course, yes, I agree, there is Mongoso, which guides. This was a proposal, and more importantly, I said NSSF is a tripartite institution. Workers, employers, and government. It doesn't fall really within the realm of even being called a state corporation. But I don't want to engage in that debate. But if you are, that is why sometimes we have had war with people like Atwoli, who believe NSF is not a government institution and we have no business associating with government. But we believe we should associate with government for governance, for transparency, and the support that you need from government. So, duly guided, but it's a discussion we can have at whatever level.
The Honorable Deputy Speaker, I gave you a chance and you over. You decided not to take it. No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll come to you. The Honorable Kenan, is it a comment or a question? Both, eh? And then, Mr. Koros, we are here until tomorrow evening. It's like, it's okay. It's okay. He combined most of them. But there's the question that was asked by 3 members about comparisons. If you and your staff could work on that, you don't have to answer it now. The GDPs and PPPs of the countries you gave us. This data you can send to us to be shared before you leave here tomorrow. I would allow Kenan, the honorable member for elders, 2 minutes at most. Okay, 1 minute as ordered by the speaker. No, we are not doing another round, please. This is, no, he's going to answer them. He's going to answer them. I'm going to advise him to answer.
Thank you, the substantive chair and the chair of the session. Mine is a comment. Mr. Speaker, having once upon a time been one of the chair of PIC and having interrogated accounts of NSF, there are 3 things that came to my mind. And I want Mr. Koros to listen.
No, go ahead. I'm writing that down also.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, in terms of scope, in terms of efficiency, openness, and contributions, the NSF we are seeing right now is completely different from the NSF that once upon a time I interrogated. But Mr. Speaker, I want to get the assurance of the CEO and his team. There's a tendency. I'm sure you have been to Malaysia. NSF of Malaysia has immensely contributed to the socio-economic development of that country. But equally, NSF of Malaysia has also been the source of all political problems in that particular country. And you know it, what has happened to so many former prime ministers and ministers for finance. Can we get the assurance of the CEO and team? Because there is temptation for this hot money owned by the pensioners. Can you assure the nation that there will be no temptation and these resources will be prudently and efficiently used for benefits that will ultimately benefit the pensioners and the Kenyan people at large? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. I know you said that you're going to try and include the informal sector, which is about 16 million people, as opposed to just relying on the 3 million that are in the formal sector. You've said how Nyota will be, Nyota, you're already recouping some money from them to save people who are on Hustler Fund. How are you going to get the ordinary women in the market, the small traders on the street? Did you explain that?
Thank you. Bonakoros, there are questions about, 2 questions. One was about those who retired before 45. Yeah, and then there's a question about the 18% and the 80% that are not getting in. Okay? Those are very important questions that you need to deal with. There's a question about rogue employees, which you answered. Loss of money through bonds was answered. That was one of the questions asked. So would you just deal with those ones alongside what has just been asked now?
Thank you for those questions. I think I'll go with I'll start with Kainan, Honorable. The issue of the story of Malaysia. The story of Malaysia, more or less, the story of NSSF of yesteryears, you remember. Mirrors each other. And what I would say is, of course, everybody who has been in NSSF has had a not so happy ending. And I would want to be a different one for me. More importantly, we are living in a different age, and I think my commitment, or the commitment of the board, is that we want to make a difference. We want to leave a legacy that will be remembered. If you look at our strategy, in fact, I mentioned our vision. I mentioned we want to grow the fund, and maybe in the next few years, every other 2 years, we are adding 1 trillion shillings in the fund. That's a legacy we want to leave. And we are not about to ruin that legacy for the odd money that is easy come, easy go. I believe I want to give that commitment that we are doing our best. We have reformed NSSF. We are transforming NSSF every bit, every minute, every time. And we believe we will not get to that situation. On the issue of the speakers, the deputy speaker, Nyota, I mentioned partnership. Let me just sum it that way. We are going to work with members of parliament. We are going to work with organized groups. We are going to roll out engagement with SACCOs. We are validity and other things. Sorry? Yes. Sorry? Yes. Unfortunately, if you looked at my presentation, I talked about people to be allowed. It's only NSSF which doesn't allow people. The amendment I proposed is that we should allow, when you lose employment, we should allow you access your benefits. Otherwise, why should you go and die and then you have your benefits to be paid to your next of kin or other beneficiaries, yet we could have saved your life. So that's a proposal I was making. We need to look at that, possibly opening up. Should you lose employment, just like in other occupational schemes, you access 50%. NSSF, the Act doesn't provide for that. What was that?
I think it was just a membership. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Could you please give him a round of applause? And the Honorable Koros, I know there are members who would like to see you, so don't go away quickly. I've told them not to ask so they can see you and do collaborate with you.
There's something you can sit, you can answer from your seated position. You remember the issue that Chair Alice Nganga raised is something that I had also instructed the clerk to take up with you. This issue does not concern these members, but it concerns members who left long time ago. Some are dead, some are there but are not able to do anything. You raised to Parliament that there was an arrears of, Mutunga, you must stop that phone call. That there was an arrears of 24 million, Sorry, there was unpaid dues of 24 million, 825,039 that had attracted liabilities in terms of interest of 102,625. You can see the difference. The principal, 24 million, penalties, 102 million. I instructed the clerk, and he actually paid your principal of 24. So in terms of principal, we owe you nothing. If you are looking for what you are looking for from us, it must be a quid pro quo. So and the law allows you to waive penalties and interest. So we request you that as we consider what you are requesting, you also quid pro quo, waive the 102,625,000 because it's just unfair penalties and interest. For members who are not these members, but every time we pay, we are affecting the welfare of these members because we are crimming off money from their committee activities, from their social welfare activities, and so on. So can you, Bwana Koros, here and now give us a commitment? Yes. The principal we paid, very good citizens and responsible institution. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, I think I've answered that question. Only that you want me to have an
didn't answer it clearly. Yes.
Yes, I think I talked about merit. Considering
Just hold there. What you said
Yes.
is that you will consider a case-by-case basis. There is no case-by-case basis. This is a case of Parliament versus NSSF.
There are two.
And we paid the 24 million not on segregated individual constituencies, but we paid as Parliament.
Straightforward answer. I gave an example of a few cases we have sorted by waiving, and it will not be any different. So let me engage with the clerk. The answer is positive, but of course we don't. Allow me to say this. This has been done. This has been done. So it's an issue of a formality that needs to be followed. So, Speaker,
yes,
it is doable. We will do it.
It's doable. It will be done. Right? So now is a question of communication. Joroge, we get back to Nairobi. You quote the outcome of this meeting, and then motion the managing trustee to do what he has said he will do. David, back to you.
Sure that the issue of NSSF has been sorted. Majority leader has heard us before we bring the amendments to Parliament. Imesemekana vizuri sana vile itakuwa. Yes. All members, the next session appears in your program paper at page 23. The item appearing for discussion at between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. today. Navigating the 2025-2026 budget and the roadmap for the 2026-2027 budget. This is to be handled by the honorable member for Alego and the chairperson for budget. And let us give him some energy as he comes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Karibu, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable David Ochieng, the Speaker of National Assembly, the Majority Leader, our able and competent clerk, members. I want to take you through a very brief presentation of what is now known as navigating the 2025-26 budget and the roadmap for financial year 2026-2027. Members, this presentation is very simple. Yes, and it is meant to prepare you for the discussion that we are going to have tomorrow when the Treasury team is here. So I want you to be very keen, and then you can be able to capture some of the things that we are going to ask the CS.
The slides, please.
Yeah, so, and the presentation is divided into 3 sections. the first section, I will be giving you the overview of the budget, which you passed last year in June, 2025-2026 budget. I just show you what you actually passed. And then we will look at the budget performance, how that budget has been implemented up to around November, 30th November. And lastly, I'll be able to share with you the budget calendar for the next session. Next session. So to start us off, I'll first go through the revenue, the resource envelope. And I would like to say that we projected to raise 3.36 trillion as total revenue. That is total revenue plus grants. 3.368 trillion, that is what we projected to raise. And this is segmented into ordinary revenue, which we had projected to raise 2.75 trillion. And appropriations in aid at 566.9 billion, and grants at 46.9 billion. I would like to make an observation here that over the past years, we have not been able to achieve our projected revenues, especially those related to ordinary tax. Most of the time, by the time we close the financial year, we are always either 15% to 20% behind. And this is the reason why, if you look at what we projected to raise in terms of increases for this financial year, we were very, decent in our estimations. We only estimated to raise it by about 13.6%, about 411 billion. If you compare that with the last financial year, where we had projected to raise our ordinary taxes by about 18%, by about 600 billion. So we were very, very decent in this time round. Now, that is as far as the resource envelope is concerned. Maybe you can look at the specific details that are there. We have the ordinary, you can see the ordinary revenue for this financial year is 2.754 trillion. The actual for last financial year was 2.4. So that's a growth of about 13.6%. Yeah, so let's push it. Let's push down. Now, in the next slide, I want us to look at the budget, the expenditure side of the budget. And you see that we approved a total expenditure of 4.301.8 trillion for this financial year. And out of the approved budget, the national government's recurrent expenditure, including parliament, judiciary, and the executive, was to spend 1.8 trillion, 1.804.1 trillion. Development expenditure was projected at 744.84 billion. And this represents a 26% increase. That is an increase by 155.3 billion from the previous financial year, that is 2024-2025, where our development expenditure was 589.6 billion. I have noted, members, and this is a trend that has also happened over the years, that we are always slow in, implementing and spending development vote. This has happened over the years. If you look at 2018, 2019, for example, in the next slide, you see that in 2018, 2019 financial year, we projected to spend 586.1 billion out of a budget of 2.4 trillion, while the development expenditure that was actually, while in the next financial year, which is 2024-25, that is the last financial year, we were projected to spend 589.56 out of a budget of 3.9 trillion. So you see that if you compare the entire budget vis-a-vis what we spend on development, there's a problem because the development vote expenditure is very, very tiny. Members, there's a problem. The problem with this, with our estimates and with our budget, is now the public debt. I will share with you the trend, what we have spent on servicing interest on public debt for the last 3 years in the next slide. In the next slide, you see that in the year 2022-2023, we spent 687 billion as interest on public debt. 2023, 2024, 840 billion. 2024, 2025, we spent 995 billion. Now we are projecting to spend 1.97 trillion in this financial year. So that will form the next debate which we are going to have with the minister, why we are thinking about other sources of raising revenue to fund our budgets. You are aware that the government has plans, first of all, to sell some of their strategic shares in strategic parastatals as part of addressing this problem of amount of resources we are spending on servicing public debt. Now I think we can move. Maybe there's something I need to share on that slide. Is the amount of money we are going to spend on equitable share, county equitable share. You can see that we are spending about 415 billion, money that is going to counties. So you should also be, you should know how much money your counties are getting, and we are in a broad-based government. One of the items in the 10-point agenda, I need to explain this, Honorable Speaker, because there's a very big debate out there that we are not implementing the 10-point agenda. And in that 10-point agenda, it was written, it was captured, that we are supposed to raise county shareable revenue to 450 billion. We are at 415. We are moving slowly. In the next budget, we could be at 450. You never know. So when somebody tells you we are not implementing the 10-point agenda, you tell them that this is one of the items which is even more critical, and you can see the the allocations going up. Yeah, let us move on to the next slide now, where now I want to show you I want to discuss the implementation of the current budget. And as at November 2025, the Exchequer releases for the National Treasury indicated that they had collected 35%. That is 951.9 billion of expected ordinary revenue, collection of 2.754. Out of what we projected, as at 30th November, what has been collected is only 951.95 billion. It means we are not trending very well also in that respect. That KRA needs to pull up their socks and be able to raise more revenues. Because if we go on with this trend, we may not be able to achieve, our projected revenues. Though in the month of December, the collections went up. And as you can see, we were able to collect about 1.2, we are at 1.251 trillion, sorry. Now, if we go on with this trend in January, February, then probably by the end of the financial year, we could be somewhere. Of course, there was a shortfall of 57 billion up to November 30th. That is a lot, 57 billion shortfall. Now, the main contributors to the shortfall in revenue collection include PAYE, which had a shortfall of 27 billion below target, and domestic VAT, which had 15.3 billion below target. Now, just as what I've explained, if collection does not pick up in the second half of the financial year, then we might be, having problems. Let us proceed. The next slide. Now, that is the revenue performance as at 30th of June, 30th of November 2025. In this table, you can see that we have collected only 35% of the projected revenue. Let us proceed. Now, in terms of implementation of the expenditure side of the budget, as at November 2025, National Treasury had released only 40%. That is 594.62 billion out of 1.47 trillion, which was approved as ministerial net recurrent expenditures. There was a wide variation in disbursements with some MDS, such as Public Service Commission, the State Department of Cooperatives, the Office of the Controller of Budget, among those receiving less than 22% of their projected expenditures. Okay, there are also some ministries that also overshot their expenditures. The highest being the State Department of Special Programs, which had overshot their budget by about 437%. This is majorly on emergency relief, mostly for drought response. You will see that they have overshot their budget by 437%. It means they spent some money which was not in their budget. They utilized Article 223 because of the emergency situation in the areas they operate from. They were allowed to spend more money than what we had given them in the budget. The State Department of MSME Development, they have spent 68% of their budget, and the State Department of Public Health and Professional Service Standards, they have spent 65% of their budget. Let us proceed. National Gender, they are at 50%. These are ministries that have spent 50% of their budget as of 30th November. Ministry of Gender, National Gender and Equality Commission at 50%. National Land Commission at 50%. State Department for Higher Education and Research at 53%. The State Department for Devolution, 54%. State Department for Youth Affairs, 54%. The State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, 57%. The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties at 57%. The State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizens, 58%. NIS, 60%. Public Health, 65%. Micro and Small Medium Enterprises, 68%. And the Special Programs, for 37%. Now, on the development, that was recurrent expenditure that I was explaining to you. Now, let us look at the development vote. Now, the development vote has been sluggish. As at November 2025, Treasury had only released 30% of the development vote. That is 121 billion, 121.8 billion out of the approved net development expenditure of 407 billion. Over 15 MDAs had received less than 5% of their net development expenditure as at November 2015. This includes the State Department for Mining, the State Department for Devolution, the State Department for Public Works, among others. There are some MDAs that have received a large share of the development expenditure, one of which is the State Department for Blue Economy and Fisheries. They're at 94%. The State Department for Internal Security, 90%, and Parliament at 72%. I think the clerk will need to confirm to us if that is true. As at December 2025, the Treasury had disbursed 29 billion for NGCDF. Though this one has gone up, I think. As at December, I think we are up around 32 billion. As at November 2025, county governments had received a total of 32%, 33% of their approved equitable share. So it means they received 136.95 billion out of the 415 billion in equitable share. All counties had received their 33% of that share. Yeah, this is the development vote in percentages. State Department of Economic Planning, as you can see. Yeah, let's proceed. Some of the issues that observations that we have made during the implementation of this budget is that we have problems with the baseline capturing of critical expenditures. We saw in the morning when the CS for Education was making his presentation that capitation to schools was actually wrongly captured, or captured is not critically captured. We have left out a substantial amount of money which should go to capitation. In this budget, the resource requirement for Ministry of Education for capitation for schools is 129 billion. But what we were able to allocate was only 93.6%. So that's one of the challenges we are facing as we are maneuvering the budget making process. We have a deficit of 35.7 billion. Then, under Ministry of Health, you realize that they have shortfalls for PE of humongous amounts. KU, for example, KU Teaching and Referral Hospital, we need to add them about 1.8 billion to sort out their PE, shortfalls. Same as Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, about 1 billion shillings, as well as KEMRI. Then, of course, the Primary Healthcare Fund, the CS was here. We have a deficit of about 11.9 billion because of, SHA. This is money going to SHA. The number of new members who have been recruited under SHA has gone up, and therefore we need to add this money, 11.9 billion, in the either supplementary budget or as soon as possible. Then there are also some issues that we have also noted when you are going through the budget making process, is that whereas department committees, when you are going through your budget, you normally make changes. And these changes, you make them in consultation with the relevant MDS and ministries. But sometimes when those changes come to us and we adopt them, normally Treasury does not agree with us. So you realize in the last budget, for example, there were about, out of the 100% changes that you introduced, the budget committee decided to adopt about 90% of those changes. When we had conversations with the National Treasury finally, before we present the budget for approval, they disagree with us. And sometimes we listen to them, but most of the time we want to listen to the departmental committees because you are the people who interact with the ministries and MDS. Then there are also cases where we're just about to close the budget, but then the Treasury decides to send us a new addendum, introducing a new budget in the process. So in most cases, we have adopted those addendums, but we want to say that it is an area that of interest to us. Why Treasury would normally, at the tail end of the budget process, they want us to incorporate new items in the budget at the tail end. Then, of course, the biggest problem again is Article 223. So you realize that this usage of this article is, we are unable to, to stop it, but it's a big problem. Because the expenditure that occur under Article 223, some of them are so strategic, especially those ones on security operations, they cannot wait. But again, it is something that affects our budget making process because the expenditure that were not part of they were not foreseen when we were writing the budget. Proceed. Yeah, so as I said, the budget committee carried 90% of your recommendations when we were, doing our final budget. And lastly, we have issues of pending bills. We have noted that in comparison to last financial year, the pending bills have continued to pile. For example, in the last financial year, total pending bills was 516 billion. To date, the total pending bills stand at 524.8 billion. So the continuous piling of pending bills is something that we need to be careful about as Parliament. And we have a report that a total of 115,617 claims worth 664.8 billion were submitted for verification, of which 68% of that has been analyzed and verified. So I think that's an area that we need to take up with the Treasury. What plans do they have towards sorting out the ballooning pending bills? It's a very important question that needs to be addressed by National Treasury. Let us proceed. Now that is the end of my presentation. I want to take you through the budget calendar. I had to be sure that we have to make a mission. Now the budget calendar is like this. To about 11th March 2026, we will be going through BPS for 2026-2027. So that will start on Friday, 13th February 2026, when that BPS policy will be submitted to Parliament, and thereafter it will be tabled on 17th February, And after it is tabled, the budget office will be able to brief, all departmental committees. After that, you will make your reports, and the reports will be presented to budget committee, and budget committee will run with it quickly until 11th of March, when the debate will happen on the floor of the House. 11th of March, the debate will happen on the floor of the House. And then the approval will happen on 12th March 2026. After we are done with BPS, then now we hope that there will be supplementary budget. So then we'll take our supplementary budget from Tuesday, 20th March 2026. We will begin briefings again to departmental committees by the budget office. That will run until Friday, 27th March, when the House will make a resolution on the same. That is again about 1 month. And then on 30th April 2026, annual estimates will be tabled. Annual estimates for 2026-2027 will be tabled on the floor of the House. And then on 11th